Everybody get up.
Welcome to here, but Chella is somewhere gallivanting in the South Pacific, laying in the sun. Who knows? I've been privy to say that if I tell you, I have to kill you. So it's all good. Chella will be with us next week. I'm here with my distinguished friend and guest, Roseanne Simeone. Hello. And Bodyshop TV is about wellness and relationships and the longevity of both. And today our topics are, we'll be talking about relationships and also how nutrition can possibly affect those relationships. So, Roseanne.
How does nutrition get involved with relationships?
Well, there's an old adage.
Please explain that.
Well, you know, I'll tell you, I've always talked about the fact that food directly affects your mood. As a matter of fact, it affects you faster than most things do. Well, I mean, you can have an adverse situation where someone makes you upset. But food, when you ingest it, within minutes, there's a chemical reaction, and then there's a physiological response based on whether your body recognizes the food or over a period of time, eating food that's not advantageous for a healthy internal environment can affect, it can create depression, it can create irritability, a bunch of things.
Really?
Absolutely. Have you ever had food poisoning?
Yes, once.
How did you feel?
Not so pretty.
For how long?
I was about 24 hours, maybe longer than that. Actually, I had it twice.
Right.
So, yeah.
Not nice, is it?
No.
As a matter of fact, you probably had a phobia of the food the place where you ate, or possibly the type of food that you had.
Yeah, I'm a little leery to go back to Mexico.
See?
Yeah.
Look at that. So look at that relationship with Mexico, now challenged because of one bad food experience. But it goes even further than that. In a relationship that you have with another human being or your children, it directly impacts it. And you know what's so funny? It's literally like, do we have a caller already? Did we have a caller already?
I'm not sure.
I didn't get a chance to go in. Gosh. Okay. Well, we'll see in a sec here if it's good. Okay. So, I've had food poisoning. I've had food poisoning just one time.
Really? Where were you?
And I went to a hummus place in the city, and it's funny because the waitress was asking me, what did I want to have, and it was a choice over eggs, and then they had like fava beans. What I found out later on is that when I did research on fava beans, based on my blood type, actually, my body would have a allergic reaction to it.
To fava beans?
Fava beans. So let me tell you what happened.
Wow.
It was about 9 o'clock at night. It was about 8 o'clock at night, and I was eating something at this restaurant. And I remember going home, and that night I was talking to my mother on the phone. And she's like, June, is something wrong? I go, no, Mom, okay. My mom could sense it over the phone. Wow. I didn't know yet. So I remember it was about 2 a.m. in the morning. I woke up, and it felt like an elephant was walking on my stomach. Oh, my God, it was painful. And like I don't like hospitals. You know how I am about, allopathic medicine, the whole convalescent mindset, going to the doctor.
Yep.
But I felt like I needed to go to the hospital. It was that bad.
Wow.
And literally for a month, I could not eat breakfast. And like I was the breakfast man. Like my biggest meal was my breakfast, and then I would slowly taper down my meals as I further into the progression into the day. But that affected me psychologically for at least 30 to 60 days. And even this day, every time I see that restaurant, I have a response.
Wow.
So it directly affects, you, which in turn would actually affect your relationship. So how can it affect the relationship in the long term? What do you think?
Well, obviously you're going to cut that relationship off with the restaurant or the place that you went to.
Right.
I wouldn't frequent that restaurant. I'm not going to have sushi anymore after I saw that parasite thing on YouTube.
Well,
That was a little scary.
well, you know, well,
Creepy, gross, I don't know.
Roseanne,
I know.
let me tell you, we are nothing but microbes and parasites ourselves.
I know, but when you see it, if I saw something crawling like that, that's like a roach crawling on the table. You know, if you're eating in a restaurant, they have roaches. But when you see it crawling on the table, come on. That's a relationship. I wouldn't go back there again.
I know, and what I do is I find a leaf somewhere, and I let that guy get on a leaf, and then I put him outside. Because that is someone else's mother or father. But that's me. I'm the body mechanic. I do crazy things like that.
I don't know if I do that with the roach. They're kind of sleepy.
Well, you know what it is. We have these names for things, and whatever we call them, at the end of the day, it's another living entity, and that's really what the bottom line is.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah. But not to get off track, just to throw something out there about sushi, folks. Here's the deal. When you actually eat food from another culture, those cultures took years and years to develop, and usually their foods the same way developed over time. And if you were to watch Asians eat sushi, what you'll notice is that what they do is they actually apply wasabi to raw fish, and there's a reason for that. What the wasabi does, it actually kills those parasites. Everything is done for a reason. And believe it or not, even in your stomach, if you actually eat properly, the right combinations, and don't drink water when you eat, what happens is the hydrochloric acid in your stomach can actually break down rock. So any bad bacteria or things like that actually is supposed to be destroyed in the stomach.
So what you're saying is now you're not supposed to drink water while you're eating?
Absolutely not. In fact,
Really?
we are the only mammals that eat and drink at the same time.
Really?
Because
So when are you supposed to drink?
well, drinking should be done half an hour, 45 minutes to half an hour prior to eating, because what it does, it facilitates the mucosal lining for the stomach to protect it against the hydrochloric acid so that it doesn't poke holes in your stomach.
Okay.
Also, it facilitates the mucosal lining for the small intestines, because once the food is broken down, usually the acidity of the chyme, the broken down food, is between 1 and 2. As a matter of fact, the duodenum will not open until the acidity of the ingredients in your stomach reaches 2.0. So when that chyme goes down into the small intestines, it needs to be neutralized by bicarbonate lining, that mucosal lining, and that's done by the pancreas. But in order for that to be facilitated, you need water.
So a half hour before.
Half hour before.
And then what happens after your meal?
Now, this is what happens, and this is a great indicator. Usually I say an hour after you eat, you should be hydrating and adding water in, right? Because the digestion process is already in the mix. Okay. It's happening already. Especially when you didn't add water to it, the hydrochloric acid is very powerful, very powerful. And you'll get a craving. You'll have a sugar craving. It'll feel like you need energy, but what it is, water is being drawn from the body to facilitate digestion. Then you need to add water. So usually it's an hour. Most people look at like, oh, it's time for me to eat something.
That's very interesting because about a half hour after I eat, I will crave something
sweet.
Sweet.
Right. What it is, it's actually an energy craving.
So drink water.
Drink water.
You're saying.
You drink anywhere from 10 to 12 ounces, right? And within 2 to 3 minutes, that craving is gone.
Right.
It's amazing. What it is just rhythm, just learning the rhythm with your body. But, you know, like I said, the food thing and relationships, I've always said food affects your mood. So let's think about this.
Okay.
Let's think about...
and you know what the next question is going to be. But go ahead.
well, let's just talk about children, first of all.
Okay.
Okay? Most Westerners, their children, when most Westerners go shopping, they walk through the supermarket, right? And everyone goes to the cereal aisle, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, not me, but everybody else.
Right,
does,
but
yeah.
when you were
little.
When you were little,
Or
but
when
when your children were young,
yeah.
your children ate cereal, right?
Yeah, they did.
Were you aware? You weren't aware of what lurks inside cereal boxes.
Not at that point, but I was very careful about the sugar contents and what cereals to pick. So I think Cheerios or Honey Nut Cheerios was a staple in our house.
Right, right.
But go ahead.
Right. Did you hear that with Cheerios? They're starting now. They plan on starting now because of the awareness that people are aware of GMO products, that they want to use non-GMO corn.
Really?
All the time they've been using GMO corn.
Oh. Wow.
Interesting, right?
Yeah.
So let's think about our children in the morning. First thing they get up. And most of them don't start the day by drinking water. I know that for a fact.
No.
No. That has to become a learned habit or a discipline.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing they do, they head to the kitchen, they grab that beautiful box with all those colors on it, because when you walk down the cereal aisle, it's like Christmas.
Come on, the commercials don't help. You know.
I know, but what happens is, come on, it's all about marketing.
Absolutely.
So we're in that cereal aisle, and there's Post, there's Kellogg's, there's Kashi, there's all kinds of stuff.
Lucky Charms, come on.
Lucky Charms. What's interesting is
Crunch.
when we take 1 minute or 2 minutes to flip the box around and look at the ingredients, the ingredient that you'll see 2 to 3 times is sugar, and then some more sugar.
But it doesn't say sugar, sugar, sugar. It says
High
something
fructose
else.
corn syrup, it'll say dextrose, sucralose, it has all these things. Sugar hidden in other forms is still sugar. But there's a hidden sugar that's really deadly, which is corn-based, which is high fructose corn syrup. So we'll talk about that another time. But just realize that high fructose corn syrup is derived from corn. And most of the time in the U.S., that corn has been genetically altered. What does that mean, genetically altered? Somebody with a white coat on and a stethoscope, not a stethoscope, but a microscope is playing with the food and creates something that does not naturally occur in nature. And when you put it in your body says, oh my God, a foreign invader! Waka, 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 waka. So we'll talk about that later. Now, so your beautiful child or children are sitting at the table, and they are like fiends. They're at the cereal, they have the cereal, they're pouring half the box. Some of them pouring a little bit because they don't want the cereal to get soggy. Then on top of that, they take that genetically modified milk. Ooh, did I say that? I'm sorry. They take milk, they pour it in. So now they have sugary cereal, sugary milk, right? They spend maybe 10, 20 minutes, depending upon how much time you give your children in the morning to prep whatever they're doing. And then we send them on their way to school. So that one sitting, let's just say they do 1 bowl of cereal with a half a cup of cereal, and usually they'll use maybe 3 to 4 ounces more of milk than they have cereal. That sugar rush cycles that child's insulin for 4 hours. So one of the reasons we wanted to have this show about relationships and food, that child's mood is affected for 4 hours. We're not talking about
Those
stable.
poor
They're
teachers.
jumping off the wall. They're climbing. They can't focus. So think about that. That child's relationship with the other children in the room. That child's relationship with that teacher. Now, that teacher has to be a disciplinary, because your child cannot sit still because they're loaded with sugar. And you do that over years. I mean, we talk about the degradation of what sugar does to the body, but more importantly, it affects that child or even that human being in their environment. We can go as far as to say that those children who are loaded with sugar have issues, ADHD, concentration issues. That's a relationship with your environment. Also, being put on Ritalin, mind-altering drugs, because the food that young person ingested, they can't control themselves.
I know.
So you understand what I'm saying?
I totally agree, because I saw that the relationship between the food and what it did to my kids as far as their behavior. So I totally agree with that. But GMO milk?
Oh yeah, GMO
Really?
milk.
I don't drink milk, so.
But milk is in a lot of things. 30 years ago, not to get off of the subject, because we will come back to this, not to get off the subject, but milk 30 years ago was altered in a lab. In the US and in Europe, they have what they call A1 milk. And folks, you can look this up on the web. A1, A2. There's books on it. There's a book called Devil in the Milk. Please look it up, because I know that 90% of Westerners consume milk on a daily basis. I gotta have my calcium, because that's the only place where I can get it from is my milk. Wrong. You can get calcium from anything that is green. There's tons of calcium in it. And so definitely affects you. And let's think about adults. Think about people with poor eating habits who don't feel well, right? And here you are trying to have a conversation with your mate or your spouse, and their insulin is cycling, they feel irritable, and you're having a challenging conversation, and on top of that, there's this little thing inside them that's affecting them. And you're like, what's wrong with you? And they're like, I don't know.
That's what you gave me for dinner.
Right, but they feel irritable, but you compound that with stress, and now you have a cascading effect of, just so many things are affected by it. So Roseanne, we're going to pay some bills. And we'll be back, right back with Roseanne and the Body Mechanic. And ciao, ciao.
YesWeCare.net is a 501c3 charity that provides help to veterans and their families. Please visit YesWeCare.net and donate in any way you can by purchasing our beautiful framed prints or relaxation CDs and DVDs, even smooth jazz CDs. YesWeCare.net. Remember, our troops are on their way home. They need all the support they can get. YesWeCare.net.
I am Tom Mealy for the Harrison Law Group, and I have been telling you for years that getting involved in an automobile accident is no joke. This is what we do. We're not new at this game. If you've been involved in an accident of any kind, and you go to a law firm that says you have no case, it's simple. It's because they can't do it and they don't get it. You need to call us directly at 1-800-INJURY-LAW.
My name is Dr. Robert Brevard. I'm here for Multi-Medicine in Westbury, New York. We're located at 1065 Old Country Road, Suite 214. Been here for about 15 years. The practice has medical doctors, physical therapists, chiropractors, acupuncturists. We also do pain management, and we have orthopedists on staff. Here at Advanced Multi-Medicine Rehabilitation, we've got physical therapists on staff who treat an array of conditions, from neck pain to back pain, shoulder pain. We treat carpal tunnel. We treat a lot of car accident patients, slip and falls. We treat patients with knee injuries, with ankle injuries. We have state-of-the-art equipment. We've been here for over 15 years. Vast array of diagnostic testing, from x-rays to EMGs. What is an EMG? It's a diagnostic test that allows a doctor to determine where the pinched nerve is. Cora is a physical therapist at Advanced Multi-Medicine and Rehabilitation. She's working on Stephanie, who was involved recently in an automobile accident. Stephanie has tight thoracic and cervical musculature, and Cora is doing some myofascial release work and some therapeutic stretching, doing it to help her with her pain. Vicky is also a patient here at Advanced Multi-Medicine and Rehabilitation. Vicky is now working her leg muscles, specifically her quadricep muscles, trying to strengthen them after an injury she sustained. If you find yourself in need of any type of physical therapy, please don't hesitate to call Advanced Multi-Medicine and Rehabilitation, located in Westbury, New York, in Suite 214. Phone number is 516-334-7000, or find us on our website at advancedmultimedicine.com.
Good evening and welcome to Lime launch event here at Jewel. My name is Mike Aharoni.
My name is Bill Spikehouse.
And we are the founders and creators of Network USA and Lime, Long Island magazine for entrepreneurs.
About relationships, meeting new people, trying to help them out and give back to other people.
Part of networking is really introducing people that you know to others. The worst thing you can do is trying to sell to people. You want to help them and they'll reciprocate.
Network USA is an incredible tool to work with. The tremendous amount of network is available under this banner.
Network USA, their launch party, 400 Long Island business owners coming together. I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Anytime I've attended Network USA, the quality of the people that come to these events
We want to thank
is
everyone
stellar.
coming here tonight, and our goal tonight is to make sure that everyone knows that networking does work.
We are reinventing networking right before your eyes.
Welcome back to bodyshop TV. I'm your host, Body Mechanic NYC, and Chella is somewhere floating around in the atmosphere. I think she's in the South Pacific or something, working on her tan. You know Chella, we just never know. But she'll definitely be back next week. Today, we are talking about relationships and also nutrition and how nutrition possibly can affect relationships. So more importantly, the focus will be on relationships. And I have my distinguished guest, Roseanne Simeone, and my new guest, Zev Ash. Zev Ash. Yes, yes. And once again, bodyshop TV is about wellness and relationships and the longevity of both. So, Zev, tell us about what Zev does.
Wait, we have a caller on hold, though.
We do?
We
God,
do.
I'm getting all into Zev already. Man.
Hold on,
Please,
Zev.
take the call.
Welcome to bodyshop TV. I am excellent. Who's calling?
This is Darlene, your old Dominican friend. Where's my girl?
What? She is, but in spirit right now. She's traveling around the globe, saving lives, spreading the word about Body Shop Enterprises. So, are you able to see us, or?
No, I'm not able to see you.
All right. If you have access to a computer, you can actually go on to madhousetv.com, and you can click on the live banner, and you'll actually be able to see the show.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So today, we are talking about relationships in a form or fashion. And I will be...
How it affects and food and how it affects.
Right, right. That's kind of like an offshoot, but, you know, I like to talk about the elephant in the room. But it's all good. So do you have any questions, or do you have anything to share with us?
That I know with food, it affects the relationships. Unfortunately, I had a death of my family just about a year ago of my father, and what he ate did affect us. So he became diabetic, had glaucoma, cataracts, and it affected our relationship, the family as well as intimate as father and daughter relationship. So yeah.
Right, right, and I mean, just the cascading effects, even from a minute standpoint. I mean, that's an extreme case, but when food is abused for long periods of time, it just alters your DNA. It alters everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
it becomes an addiction, a form of an addiction. Food is an addiction, so yeah. And if you're addicted to a sugar or salt or whatever, it's still a form of an addiction. So yeah, I definitely can see that. And on a personal note, relationship-wise, I mean, yeah, it does affect I'm going there, the intimacy between the two of them.
Yes, yeah, food can actually affect that too. Food can cause mood swings, food abuse, the wrong types of food or things that are bad that's in the food can cause erectile dysfunction.
Yeah.
So I could see how it could definitely demise a relationship. And a lot of
Definitely.
people are having those issues.
Really? And
Definitely.
what kind of foods would cause that?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, diabetes or sugar can absolutely affect can actually cause long-term effects can actually cause erectile dysfunction. Because
True, definitely.
Right,
but it can also affect with the dementia and schizophrenia. So
right.
You know, and like you said, also mood swings. You could be very nasty. You can be very, aggressive with people, not knowing and not even thinking about it.
That's a big point there. A lot of people don't realize that sugar can actually create an aggressive environment. And you, as a spouse,
experienced that. I did experience that with my father, so that's why I said that.
Right, and even more importantly, mood swings. So the person at one point or another, you're like, "Do I even know who you are?"
True.
Yeah.
Very true.
Sorry to hear that about your father, by the way.
Thank you.
And how have you been otherwise?
I'm just taking it easy, trying to get rid of a lot of stuff here and trying to get back into becoming healthy and eating healthy and exercising, mainly exercising. That's my weakness, my downfall, and I need to work on it and want to work on it and will work on it this year.
Well, your body was designed to move from the first day you got spanked on your bottom, and we have to keep moving right there until the final moments.
True.
You know? So, Darlene, thank you so much for calling Bodyshop TV. And keep us locked in every Saturday from 2 to 4.
Okay.
All right?
All right. Have a blessed one.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Zev, talk to us. Tell us how you enhance people's lives or makes people's businesses more prosperous.
How can I top this discussions about ED and stuff?
We'll come back to it.
Okay. So on the business side, I help entrepreneurs and small business owners who are too immersed in their day-to-day life. They can't really see their business the way someone with 30 years experience can see it. So I'm kind of like the second pair of eyes, the extra brain that can look at your business and how you operate from the outside. So the advantage I have is I look at things from a client perspective. I do that very well. I call it
as the end user.
As the end user. I call that kind of tell business owners, if you can do an out-of-body experience, jump the counter and look from the outside in and become the client, you'll have a complete transformation of your business. So, ideal question is, if you're a client, would you buy from yourself? Right? And it's not just about transactional stuff or buying things. I think I mentioned to you I have clients who are wellness coaches, people that develop apps, so it's not over-the-counter buying things. It's the transaction. So, the difference in the 21st century marketing, which is what my expertise is, it's all relational. Right? It's all about relationships.
It really is. Right? Everything is about relationships.
It's the game completely changed. It is a buyer's market. With the Industrial Revolution, marketing was about let's shove as much as we can down everybody's throat and see, who chews and swallows, and that becomes a sale. Today, totally out. It's, what do you have for me? Why should I buy from you?
Well, you have a lot more competition also.
A ton. 2 fingers. You're always a click away from either getting a client or losing a client. So it's incredible power. The technology is there to completely change the game. Everything is transparent. There's no more BS in business. You're going to say something that's not true, it's going to come up. And the difference is, when it comes up, I'm going on my Twitter page, on my Facebook, and I'm letting all my friends know that you're full of it.
And within moments.
Moments.
You could lose 25% of your business.
Absolutely.
If you're lucky, 25%. You could be out of business.
That's being nice.
Right. Yeah. So it's transparency.
But it's great.
It's perfect because the real, the people that survived in business the longest, when we think about our parents' generations, what made them unique? They were hardworking, honest business people.
Personable,
connected. All about connections, all about service. And so we don't need books of marketing and social media. This is really what it comes down to. So if you continue to do that and then you let people know that's what you do, then you'll be okay. But we always try to find the easy way out. One up everything.
Cut corners.
Cut corners. So transparency, authenticity, being truly honest is the only way you're going to survive.
I think that's how it was a long time ago. We kind of just stuck to the basics, and we've gotten so far away from that.
We did. I mean, I wrote, you know, my dad had a grocery store in Israel. So imagine city of Tel Aviv, apartment buildings, maybe 4 or 5 stories at the most. 5 stories was like a skyscraper, right? And so you have a grocery store in the corner, and you go 1 block in each direction, and that was his territory. Because a block away, there was another grocery store. So people didn't just want to come down in the morning, come into his store, buy the fresh milk and eggs and rolls, and go back to the apartment and have breakfast, and lunchtime and dinner. So that was life. So I watched him, and years later, you know how we learn years later how great our parents were, right?
Because at the time, we're like,
clueless, right? Why is he working?
You suck, Dad.
Yeah. Why is he working so hard? So one incident imprinted on me to this day, where a lady that lived in a building next door came down, and she was the wife of a doctor, and she was from Eastern Europe. And unbeknownst to my father, when he said, you know, hello, Roseanne, she stood up and she said, it's not Roseanne, it's Mrs. Dr. Roseanne. And then she proceeded to ask for the piece of deli meat that he didn't carry. It was expensive. So she throws a fit and she leaves the store. Now, you can't afford to lose a client because all she has to do is turn around and go the other way, and there's another grocery store.
Not only that, she'll talk about the experience.
To everybody in the building, and because she was a doctor's wife, she was well connected. So my dad jumped on his bicycle, literally rode across town to the place where they had the specialty meats, bought whatever he had to buy, came back, sliced it, and then ran up the 4 stories, because none of the buildings had elevators, ran up the 4 stories to give her meat, and not even charge her for it. And he apologized.
That's awesome, because that creates a client for life. Not only that, a great situation that she'll talk about.
And so, you know, for us sitting around today looking at it and saying, seriously? Tell her to go, you know, so what is that? You know, so, but it was a question of survival. I think that's the difference. You know, for him, it was survival. You know, every client meant that he could feed me, but the cash at the end of the day was to really buy the products for the next day. It wasn't like money in the bank and you wrote checks and you had investments. The cash that came out at the end of the day was buying the fresh rolls and the milk and the deli meats and everything else. So it was about survival. So if you took survival seriously, then that's what you have to do. And I think today we're a little bit more spoiled. That survival instinct isn't there.
It is, and I'm just going to play the devil's advocate because the computer has made it very easy for people to complain. And sometimes they don't really have a reason to complain. You just, no matter what you do with that person, they're just not going to be happy. So it kind of, it hurts some businesses that it really shouldn't. You know, I have a friend who has a photography studio, and because the one thing was not to her total satisfaction, no matter how much he tried to do, like your father did, and help and help and help, she still went on Yelp. And even though it was rectified, he apologized, he fixed it, it was still on Yelp.
Well, some people have an agenda.
Exactly.
That's a very small percentage of the population.
But
Some people go in trying to get products for free, but in general, if you take care of 99% of the people, you're going to have a successful business. You're going to always have the few people who are, even if you're going to have shrinkage, you're going to lose some stuff.
Yeah, but there are those people that go on the internet and go complaints, like me, complaints on, because I want to know the business, or, you know, there's Groupons, and I want to know what the reputation of that restaurant is, or that laser company is, or that hair salon is. So I go on there, and you can, those things come up.
It's funny, I've never done that.
Really, I have.
You know, what's interesting
I look at the people that's in the, I look at the people who go there, I look at their faces.
Yeah, but you can't, if you're buying a coupon on, let's say Groupon, you know, you get those, may not get them, but my daughter wanted to do laser. Okay, so she tells me, oh, there's this
You mean laser eye surgery?
No, laser hair removal.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
So she says, oh, there's this laser place right around the corner in Huntington, blah, 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 blah. So I looked at the price and I said, okay, that's a great price. And then I said, well, let me go on Google and see if there's any complaints. There were a lot of complaints about it. And a lot of them I had to say, well, they may not have been legit, but I had to because it's something that you can burn yourself if it's not done correctly.
Well, this is what he's talking about with transparency, right?
Right. So in that, but and then there's those cases where something will go on Yelp where it's really ineffective, and that affects a relationship with me buying from you because there's something on Yelp that said that you didn't do it even though you did it. So it's the relationship, it goes both ways.
I think that if we use a medium like that, if I walk in and if I go in and I check it out and I see 30 complaints, I'm like, okay, that sounds like a pattern. If I see 1 or 2 complaints, depending upon how long the company's been in business,
yeah, but that's you. That's not everybody else.
Right, but you have to use reasoning, but that's really what it boils down to. If that company's been in business for 20 years and they got 2 complaints, I'm like,
there's a lot of dishonesty in the whole concept of testimonials and recommendations.
Yes.
There are people that go out and get their family to go write great stuff. So what I do as a consumer, I look at the number of testimonials that are there. If there are 23 and 18 have 5 stars, I dismiss it. Don't buy it. But if there's 172, that's more of a number that you can say, okay, well, unless you have a really big extended family and everybody wrote a great review, the chances are less than that. But the part that drives me nuts as somebody who works with business owners, we all gravitate towards the price stuff. How much does it cost? And I want to jump into your world of nutrition and wellness.
Right,
because it relates, right? So how much does it cost? Everybody is fixated on the price. So if this has a really good deal, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a great service or a great product. And so what I try to do, and I work on the other side with the business owner, well, how do I price my products? Well, let's price it based on the value that they provide, but you have to look at the competition. There's something called what the market will bear, right? So how much are people willing to pay? Well, if you do your research, you can see the range.
What the average consensus
and you can decide, I'm going to be on a high end because I provide a lot of value and I believe in my products and the ingredients and et cetera, et cetera. Or if you want to go to the low end, which I never recommend, then you're looking for volume and very little profit.
Right.
So the name of the game is profit, not sales. But that's the fixation that gets us all in trouble all the time. It's not what you get back, it's how much it costs.
Right.
And that's huge. So when it gets to the world of wellness and nutrition, and that's kind of a question to you that I want to throw it out to you. I'm all for it. But when I go to Whole Foods,
right,
and those guys, and I look at a little container of nuts,
right,
and it's $8.99,
right,
I don't like to get ripped off.
Right.
You can't convince me that those nuts are $8.99. They're inside a store that has a lot of great stuff that's valued for what they sell. But I won't buy it. So I stayed away from those kind of stores. And the thing I think that's a deterrent for those of us who want to go the extra mile,
who want to be healthy and consume healthy food,
that it's prohibitive because it's very much higher priced than most other things. The other issue I have with the whole organic thing, so on a personal note, the government doesn't have enough enforcement to go and certify that these are true organic stuff. So maybe the first time it is.
Well,
right, but they don't have enough inspectors to confirm.
We have to go to a commercial, so.
Yes, we have to go to commercial. And we'll
but I want to continue that because that's a great.
Definitely.
Definitely.
So folks, we'll be right back. We're going to pay some bills. When we come back, we're going to go into the food realm for a quick moment, okay? We'll be right back.
YesWeCare.net is a 501c3 charity that provides help to veterans and their families. Please visit YesWeCare.net and donate in any way you can by purchasing our beautiful frame prints or relaxation CDs and DVDs, even smooth jazz CDs. YesWeCare.net. Remember, our troops are on their way home. They need all the support they can get. YesWeCare.net.
Old Spice body spray will make you feel so powerful to blow your mind right in front of your face. Goodbye. Oh no! Power!
Automatic freshness, softness, and static control has never been easier with the Bounce Dryer Bar. I just stick it to the inside of my dryer, and I never have to remember.
Oh, Old Spice body spray makes you smell like power! It's so powerful it sells itself in other people's commercials. You smell like outdoor freshness.
You smell like power.
Yeah, I do. Power! Power!
Try this routine to feel fresh and clean. Pair Charmin Fresh Mates with your Charmin.
Oh, Spice body spray is too powerful to stay in its own commercial. That's right. Power. Old Spice body spray can change a regular smelling man into a man who smells like power.
Now, how is this? Wow, you know what? I actually do feel more powerful.
Potato chips! Power! It's me.
Welcome back to Bodyshop TV. I'm your host, Body Mechanic NYC. I have my guests, Zev and Roseanne. We are talking about relationships, and food, how food affects relationships. And just before we went to commercial break, we were talking about organic, non-organic, expensive, inexpensive. So Zev, come back in with your question again.
So one of the deterrent for people like me who are aware,
right,
but still amateurs, we want to take that extra step and go buy something that I know is better for me. What I consider to be outrageously priced products turn me off. And we talked about the little thing of nuts at Whole Foods that's $8.99, where I could buy nuts in a supermarket for maybe $4.99. So for me personally, it was always a deterrent. The other part was the organic label. I can see where they get certified initially, but how do you then subsequently make sure that they stick to the guidelines and then just didn't do it to get certified the first time? I don't know if there's enough inspectors. I know there are not enough inspectors who can go out and verify it. So to me, it's kind of iffy, but I'm all for it.
I'm not sure what the protocol is as far as maintenance, if it's something that has to be rechecked every year. I'm pretty sure there's something in line, but you know, that's something for me to look into.
Can I ask? Can I answer?
Sure.
Why is Whole Foods more expensive than Trader Joe's?
I can tell you.
Well, first of all, their product line is by far superior than Trader Joe's. They offer a lot more different things.
They do, but the same spelt bread that is $8.99 at Whole Foods is $5.99 at Trader Joe's.
Well, that's all part of marketing also, because you have people, I don't know.
It is.
Yeah, that's just marketing.
Yeah, you define who will be your target clients.
By your price.
And Whole Foods said our target clients are going to be probably 25 to 45, affluent or
medium to upper tier.
Oh, then I should not be shopping there.
You know, high awareness of what's good for you and the willingness to spend the money on it. And so they price it that way, and they're in business.
Well, you know, it's funny that you said, you know, you're talking about price, because I was a broker for 9 years, and understanding pitching products is about feature and benefit. Mm-hmm. Like, you never, ever talk about price. Because when you get something that, like, for instance, when you really want something because of what it does for you, really the price is irrelevant, unless you can't afford it. But otherwise, the price should never be an issue. So when I look at food and I talk about food, it's all about what it does for my health. I really don't care what it costs.
I know you don't.
Right.
But there are people that are on the lower spectrum of income that would love to eat healthy.
Right.
And for me, I'm not on the low. I'm like in the middle, and it's very expensive when you're going into Whole Foods and you're buying stuff and you get 2 bags and it's $175 and you go, okay, so I can make about 2 meals out of this. So how much am I supposed to spend? So, and I can afford it. And I feel bad for the people who can't, who want to eat healthy, because you can't eat healthy.
Well,
because that's why the mother is going into the store and going 169, 129. I'm doing the 129 because you know what? I can't afford the 169. Because the 129, you know what? That's what I can fit into my budget.
That's a great point, Roseanne.
You know, and that's why there are many obese people in the lower income areas, because they can, you know what, it's cheaper to go to McDonald's and get the 99-cent menu for kids, rather than going to the store and buying healthy food.
But you know what's interesting? They're not spending 99-cent, Roseanne. They're still spending $5 to $6 per person. It's a matter of how it adds up. 99-cent menu, each item. I want to throw something at you.
Go ahead, throw it out.
The deal is, one of the reasons why prices become so important is because, I'll be honest, people that are consuming food really don't know what they're consuming, and that's why price is a huge issue. Another thing is this. When you eat foods that are empty, that are inexpensive, you can't eat enough of it, so you actually end up eating more. You're never, ever satiated. So those people eat 7, 8, 9, 10 times a day, and they're never full. You end up spending the same amount of money. When you actually eat nutrient-dense food, you don't have to eat as much.
Well, maybe
you see,
we
the
need
stats,
to educate
the
them
stats,
a little bit
the
more.
stats are not being done with that. So, for instance, you know, in the morning, we get a box of cereal, right? That costs minimum $5 for a box, right? And it'd be somewhere upwards around $8 for a box. And then we get milk. Milk is about $4 a gallon, right? So that child can actually have 2 pieces of fruit that are by far cheaper than that box of cereal, and give them enough nutrients for 2 or 3 days, vice that cereal being empty nutrients.
Well, maybe we need to go into those neighborhoods and take them all shopping.
Absolutely. That's why we
I
have
would love to do
Body
that.
Shop, TV,
I
and radio,
know,
so
but
we
you
can
know
talk
what?
about educating the general population.
I understand that, but you know what? A lot of those people are not listening to a show like this. That's why we need to go into those neighborhoods and actually take them to the supermarket and say, let's. Hey, you could do a show on that. Take them to a supermarket and show them.
We are on our way. We are on our way.
Good.
So,
You know, we are young.
back to the Whole Foods versus Trader Joe's versus King Cullen, right?
Right.
There's a concept called disruptive innovation, and it happens in all different disciplines. And disruptive innovation is about that new company that's going to come out and serve the underserved. So the underserved are not the ones that are going to Whole Foods. And what's the other store? There's another
Wild
one.
by Nature.
Wild by Nature or some of the other stuff. So the underserved are the people like, to some extent, Roseanne and I, but really more of the low middle class.
Right, people who
don't have the awareness, but also don't have the income to support it. Someone is going to disrupt by going in and offering these type of foods at a price point that will allow more people to go out and do it. That's a disruption, is coming up with an alternative to the people that don't have an alternative.
Well, I'll share something with you, and just to make a point about the nuts that are $8.99. What you'll notice is that when you go into a place and you find, like when you find packaged nuts on the street, see, the difference between those nuts in that package and what you saw for $8.99 is actually what they put in the container with the nuts. There are chemicals that are used in the inexpensive ones that give them a longer shelf life. Sulfur dioxide is actually a neurotoxin. And they put that in those inexpensive nuts. So you got to understand what the ingredients are. That's the reason why the price points are different, is what that company is doing with those things. And a place that's using cheap chemicals can get away with by charging a cheap price. They can. And you have different innovation for the things that are more expensive. I've looked into this extensively with foods and stuff, and I read labels. In fact, I piggyback a course called Integrative Nutrition. And for 3 weeks, I wore a heart rate monitor so that I know that when I was eating something, if I was having an allergic reaction to it. And one of the things it talked about was just ingredients in general, understanding what the ingredient is. It's based on education. It really is.
It is. You know, what's interesting is when I was in undergrad, I was a psychology major, and I was obsessed to this day with the brain. right? So how the brain works, how do people make decisions, why they do stupid things,
Right.
what drives them. And the school that I went to, which is called SUNY Purchase, required, was the only school in the country that required a thesis to graduate from your undergraduate degree. So I don't remember how I got into it, but my thesis was food allergy of the brain. And this is 1983. And when I presented my thesis to the faculty, they said, we have no clue what does this have to do with psychology, but you know what, it sounds interesting, go do it. So the research that I did, and this is a long time ago, but...
How long ago?
1983, okay? So the research was, and if you talk to somebody, it would look at you like you were nuts.
Right.
So I've done research, not on my own, but collecting the research, where you can take your hair and they can do a vitamin deficiency analysis.
Right. You can tell what comes up from the waste
on your hair. I've looked at megavitamin therapy for people who have schizophrenia and other diseases because they had deficiencies of B vitamin and B6 vitamin.
And that's exactly what it is.
And now, if you fast forward now to where we are today, and one of the guys, I remember his name was Dr. Rimland, Bernard Rimland, was he was at the beginning of the frontier of autism and how vitamin deficiency in certain things affected autistic kids. But the premise of my thesis was the people that present themselves with neurotic behaviors, they're not rooted in mental issues, but more of a biochemical imbalance of the brain and the chemistry in the body. So for me, it was fascinating. You know, I interviewed schizophrenics who were my megavitamin therapy. I interviewed Dr. Rimland. I looked at all that stuff. And so when I presented it, you know, I got honors and I graduated honors because of it, but the dean of the department said, I still don't get what it has anything to do with psychology. What? Because we were mostly about behavioral psychology. That was really the thrust of the program. Wow.
So I'm jumping in my seat right now.
I feel like
I'm going to burst. No, this is...
Now you look at this
You're
stuff
right on.
Yeah.
And you know what's interesting is this. That's done intentionally, and I'm going to tell you why. This is one of the reasons why I want to always get on an arena and talk about the body and the deficiencies. I have tons of clients who are psychoanalysts. They're clients of mine. And they never, ever talk about nutrition because understand this. Pharmaceutical industry has interest in suppressing nutrients because it can fix everything in the body. A mother that is nutrient deficient can pass those deficiencies on to their children. Then, once you supplement the body does what it's supposed to do. It's really simple. It really is simple. Understand this. A schizophrenia medication goes for $1,000 a pop. A juice, a green juice, is about $4. It's really that simple. And I've talked with many people in the industry, and when you talk about food, they get really, really uncomfortable about it because their education, they teach them to suppress. They don't even learn anything about nutrition. Nothing. Western medicine is what, 200, 300 years old? It's a baby. Look at all these indigenous cultures that have been around for thousands of years that have been treating everything with food. Our medicine is all around us. But see, they can't patent that. And being that they can't patent that, there's no money in healthy people. And that's really what it is. He understood what you were doing, but it's not taught in school.
Yeah, well, in general, the medical profession is
pill for every ill.
Does not support it because you fix the symptoms, you don't really fix the underlying issue.
Right.
But they really don't have time to fix it because they're too busy.
Right. Western medicine is about taking a tree, not looking at the roots, but just clipping off a leaf and going, we'll fix that one there. You got to get down to the roots. That's how you fix the tree. You know what happens when you fix the roots? You heal the whole entire tree. Allopathic medicine has segregated every single condition that are all connected. Doctor for this, doctor for that. I work with people with all types of pathologies. I go in for someone who has plantar fasciitis. Next thing you know, their sugar's under control. Their hypertensive condition is diminished. And these are things that we're taught that are genetic, right? Oh, yeah, I like that one. So you were dead on. You were so far ahead of your time. You was in the clouds where you really didn't want to be, but you were doing the right thing. They've known about this for years, my friend. They've been treating, like they were treating bipolar disorders back in 1915, they were doing coffee enemas, cleaning the liver, and giving nutrients and curing bipolar. And we still have the same problem now. They don't want to fix it. Food is your medicine.
Well, it's like your name, right? The body mechanic. Look what happened to cars. We used to fix them. Today, you just go in,
buy a new part,
throw the part out, come back. And you know what? One day, it's going to happen to us. We're not going to be around to see it, but, oh, your liver's no good? Sure, we've got one.
No, it's happening already. They already.
Well, with
right, they're taking people, you know, in some countries, they take people's organs. We've seen movies where they talk about that, but, you know, and I'll tell you, in Japan, they're actually growing cartilage in petri dishes. It's collagen.
Mm-hmm.
Growing parts. It's incredible.
It's coming.
Yeah, it is coming. It's coming.
But
what happens is the responsibility is no longer on you to be responsible for your health. It's all about abuse your body, and when you kill your organ, then here's another one. But that's the wrong way to do it. Your body is capable. Your body is always trying to keep you alive and keep you healthy. All you have to do is meet it like a tenth of the way and give it just what it needs. And most of those things are macro and micronutrients. They're small amounts. They're not lots. They're small amounts.
So it's interesting, as we were growing up, there weren't as many diseases and diagnoses out there as there are today. And I always kind of reflect back. And I say, you know, the issue is we're out of choices because our lifestyle is so fast and there's so many different things that we have to make decisions on. You don't really have what our parents' generation, and even my generation, like when I was growing up, we actually had time to relax and have fun. And
you mean be present?
Be present. Go play in the yard. You know, we play,
be creative.
You know, there was, so we were talking about technology and relationships, right? We weren't consumed by, you know, this kind of world. We went out and, you know, my way of getting my friends in on the streets was go up to where they lived and we had a whistle. I would whistle and they would hear it no matter where they were. They'd come downstairs and we'd go play. So today when you think about it, how do you get a friend to set up time with you to just go relax, play, enjoy each other and play? What are you up against? A ton of stuff.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's what really limits you to have the ability to make the right choices because we're moving way too fast.
Everything is, right, everything is fast-paced and the quality of time is no longer here. And believe it or not, a lot of these businesses, and especially when you talk about medicine, the first thing they do is they use fear and time. And that's how most products are moved, with fear and time. Got to act now. And if you don't do this, this will happen. And people are like, fear is used in all industries. When I'm introduced to something new and the first thing that hits me is a fear stimuli, I back up automatically. Because if the product is that good, why do I have to be scared into purchasing it? It's a matter of understanding your arena.
That's true.
You go to the doctor, you go do it, you go to do your consult or whatever, and they'll say, you know, your cholesterol is getting a little high. So even though it's not high, they already plant the seed. There's that fear thing about cholesterol and heart attacks, things like that.
Yeah, and then it
They'll
puts,
complex
and then
the
that
mindset.
stress hormone in the amygdala goes off, and it goes
off.
okay.
And then what happens
now I'm really going to get high cholesterol.
Right, and the stress itself already creates a cascade of events in your body. So,
and you know that the people that are able to get any results in any area, particularly with nutrition and wellness, are the ones that go through a behavior change, a lifestyle change. Unless you're able to do that, you're just going to fall back.
you have to reset the box.
You reset. So you get the yo-yo diets, the pill today, you know, oh, you can lose 30 pounds, whatever. That's why the industry is so great.
How'd you get so smart in such a short period of time?
I have no idea. I'm surrounded by smart people.
You know, Chella said I would adore you, man. You're awesome. I like the language you're speaking, man. It's awesome.
You know, it's
really
interesting. I have a client who called me and said, I'd like to hire you. And I said, so what do you do? I'm a wellness coach. And so I said to her, if you want me to work with you, you're not allowed to use the word coach at all. Because everybody else under the sun is a coach.
Right.
Everybody's a coach. So
Really?
she said, seriously? I said, yeah. So we worked for a month in trying to identify what is her value in going to work with people. And it's like you, it's about wellness. Her focus is not on the nutrition side and not on the diet side. It's about the behavior change. You know, she has a master's in behavior change with focus on healthcare. So I learned from my clients. It's not like I got smart on my own, but if you surround yourself with the right people, then you can learn a lot. You know, there's an old saying in you know, the Jewish rabbinical stuff. It said, tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are.
Absolutely, I agree with you
My
completely.
mother had the same.
Yep.
Same
Birds of a
thing.
feather flock together.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
it's for me, I'm as good as the clients I have and as good as the friends and the family that I have. On the family side, they're not big on nutrition as they should be. But
I work very, very, very closely with your community.
Yeah.
Very close. I worked at the Jewish Community Center in the city, and that's where I got my sea legs. And I have a few business partners also. And yes, your diets are challenged because it's just like everyone else, because most people don't understand. And this is something that should be taught at a very young age, because children are capable of learning about what's important for them to eat. You know, but
That's very true.
I had a very serious illness about 12, 13 years ago, and I had a woman who I loved more than the universe, my grandmother, who died, and she had MS. No, she had lupus. She had diabetes, hypertension. Her legs were amputated, and I sat there helpless. So once I had my illness, it was my reality check. And I was on Wall Street at the time, and I said, you know what? I want to go into a business where I can help people. It would be recession-proof, and I knew, based on the current trends with allopathic medicine, that it was a huge, huge industry. And look at it now.
so how do you get them? How do you get them over that threshold where they can? They really have to let go and let you guide
dancing
them, right?
here.
Right. But that's a huge leap, because you know, if you were going to do that for me, I have to let go completely, let you guide me, get rid of my predispositions and preconception and all the other stuff, and let you guide me so I can see the results. And that's a really tough thing for humans to do, in putting that kind of trust in someone.
Well,
because what goes against you is the yo-yo industry, right?
Right.
The diets.
Right.
So how do I know it's going to work?
So here's the deal. First of all, we need small successes, and we also need awareness, because most people don't even aware that they're addicted. They don't even understand what's out there. They don't know what's in the box or how it got to the box. We don't understand anything. We are blindly. It's like, you ever seen the movie Blazing Saddles?
Yes.
Right? Remember that? They had the little booth in the middle of the desert, and then you pay your toll to go through, and then all the buildings are all props. That's what we have. They're all fronts, right? But as you walk through and open a door, you realize that it's just a front. That's what education does for you. It allows you to analyze what's going on inside. So how do we do that? I start here, and I plant seeds, because you know this as well as I do. All you have to do is say something to someone, and they will start to nurture it. Even if they don't like it, it still is in their brain. That's why I'm very careful about what I expose myself to. So the first thing is awareness, understanding that what the industry's motives are. I want you to think about, when you buy a product, what do you think their bottom line motive is? Is it something for good health?
No.
Or is it for profit? So what we'll do is, when we come back from commercial break, we'll go further into this, okay?
Okay.
See you in a few minutes. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Dr. Tom Dow. We have a multidisciplinary practice in Melville and Ronkonkoma, New York, and we treat patients with many, many different conditions, from newborns through geriatric patients with numerous different techniques. There's a technique and a type of treatment for every class of patient we have them all here. Here's my son Thomas, also a doctor of chiropractic, working on one of our patients' cervical spine. This patient has had chronic neck pain for many, many, many years, has been to a multitude of different practitioners with little or no response. And with our specialized techniques, she has improved tremendously and continues to improve on a daily basis. We have two practices, one in Melville and one in Ronkonkoma, New York. We are a multidiscipline chiropractic office. What that means is we have chiropractors, massage therapists, acupuncturists, psychologists, all working as a team and a network of outside professionals such as orthopedists and neurologists that we work hand in hand with to help determine what your injuries are and the best way to treat your injuries. I have the great pleasure of having my son in practice with me. We work hand in hand, father and son, to give our patients the best care possible, and a staff which is loving, caring, and you'll never have to wait at all in our office for service. Many times patients come into our office and they have what's called a soft tissue injury. Soft tissue injuries are like scars inside your body. If you've ever been cut on the outside of your body, you get a scar. The same thing happens inside of your body to your muscles and ligaments. So our job is to determine where those are, stretch the muscles, adjust the vertebra back into their correct position, and then refortify the normal structure with exercise. That's what we do best, and I hope someday you'll come see us at one of our two offices. Thank you.
Welcome back to Body Shop TV. I'm your host, Body Mechanic NYC, and we have a new guest with us now. Her name is Georgia Woodbine. And Georgia, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am an author, motivational speaker, and life coach, and I've been doing this for maybe about several years. I started out working in the entertainment business and managing artists and producers, and it's so funny. I always tell people, whatever you're looking for in life, that passion, whatever it is that you'll do for free, that's what you should be doing. And I was always coaching people and, you know, trying to help them get on the right path with their careers. And I just started writing books, and I didn't know I had the talent to do that. And then once I started tapping into my passion and finding myself deeper inside, I was able to exercise my gifts and fulfill my purpose and show others how to fulfill their purpose.
So tell us about your book.
Yes, How to Attract the Right Man into Your Life. No more settling.
Well, this book probably should be in your head or your head. Here. So what motivated you to write this book?
Well, it's so funny because I was out with my sisters. We were having a girlfriend night. We were sitting at the table. You know, we're talking about men and what's the problem? Why is it so hard for women to find a good man? Like, what's the problem? And, you know, it's just so funny. As we sat there and we spoke about it, and, you know, my sister looked at me and she said, Georgia, you need to write a book about this. Because, like, women and men, they're always coming to me telling me about their relationships and trying to get advice from me and so forth. So I was like, you know what? I really need to put this into a book form because I'm just so tired of seeing so many of my female friends settling for the person that's not right for them.
That's interesting. I mean, I've worked with a lot of people myself because training is a very personal thing. It's up close and personal. And I'll be honest with you, I've worked with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. And a lot of the relationships out there are really dysfunctional.
Right.
You know, I don't know whether it's the side of the man, the the side of the woman. I'm not taking sides, but there is something definitely wrong.
It is, and I think, like you said, it's both sides. It's not just the
Right.
the
It's a
women.
collective
It's the men
effort.
too, right? Because I think a lot of times people take a lot of their old baggage into new relationships, and they think just because they change the person, something's going to change.
Right.
But they haven't really took the time to work on themselves and their own personal characteristics that they need to work on to be able to attract the mate that's right for them. I always say there's a lot of people out there that's married to somebody else's soulmate. You know, they got married, they had kids, but they never really had that connection. And people
that's so
fail
true.
to get the connection early on in the relationship because of the physical attraction.
And you know what? I
It
think
supersedes it.
And I think a lot of it is what we're brought up with, the relationship that we have as what we're seeing through our mother and father. So we go into a relationship and we go, and I know I can say that for myself, you go, okay, well, my mom put up with it, so I guess that's the way it's supposed to be. And then I reached a certain point in my life at 37 or 38, and I wanted that love and that passion that I wasn't getting, and so I got divorced. And my mother's like, you know, but I didn't want to continue bringing up children, showing them that kind of relationship, because they're going to wind up finding, and sure enough, my daughter wound up dating somebody just like my ex-husband, until she saw I found somebody who was more compatible with me, and then she realized that that's not really a relationship she wants. She wants the real, true soulmate, compassion, intimate, loving, supportive, you know, relationship. So that's a lot of what we see.
I think that relationship that we have with our parents can set the tone for generations. And it's like that box is created. And, you know, I understand, you know, I'm pretty sure you're going to talk about your book and talk about the intricacies of it. But I think that from a human standpoint, you know, when you're young and that neural mapping is created, it's hard to break those trends. It's one thing to find yourself a great mate, but most people are not even great with themselves. Right. So how can you find and look for someone else when your house is not right? I mean, I think most of the time.
That's true.
What do you think
That's
about
true.
that? I'm not an expert.
No, but it's true, because, like, to piggyback what you were saying about as a young girl, what you see in your father, a lot of times women look for that in a man. That doesn't necessarily mean that's the right thing, you know, and it starts with childhood. What you view as a healthy relationship, a positive relationship. And if you don't see that as a child, you go looking for the wrong things. Like you say, okay, I want this man to take care of me financially because you saw your father take care of your mother financially. Or you say, I want this man to be this way because this is what I'm used to seeing as a child. And, you know, it's just really allowing yourself and exposing yourself to new things and new people and being willing to let yourself grow as an individual. Because I think so many times we hold on to old habits and old ways because we're used to it. They say just like how the mind works, when you go through a bad experience, you never want to go back to that experience. So you block it. So if you've been doing something your whole life, it's hard to just switch that thing. It takes like somebody to come into your life to shed some light on you and say, wow, you mean I've been doing it wrong all this time?
Well, that's an interesting point, because one of the things I also talk about, I talked about in one of my shows, I talked about being open. A lot of people think that they know it all, hence you stop growing. The key to evolution and evolving is realizing how much you don't know. And if you're open, you're actually open to change. But most people are closed to change, and that's why they keep banging their heads against the wall.
Yeah, I think, you know, when it gets back to childhood, you know, my story is that my mother died when I was 2 weeks old. You know, there was some sort of infection post-delivery, and she died. My father was stuck with a 2-week-old infant. And a woman came, this is back in Israel, a woman came from Sweden to visit her sisters, and she went to some social event, and everybody was talking about this guy who is a widow with a 2-week-old infant. And she said, I need to meet this kid. I need to meet this baby. So a couple of days later, she found me. She said, and this turned out to be my mother, the mother who raised me. She found me. She said, I took one look at you and I knew this is what I want to do.
Wow. I got chills.
You know, and just imagine that we're going to, we'll pick a weird country, right? So we're going to whatever, to Haiti, and you hear about this and you just say, okay, I'm taking care of this baby and I'm never going back. And she never did. I mean, she came with a suitcase and she stayed. So a year later, she adopted me and she was my mother. I mean, I didn't know anybody else.
Right.
Her and my father were complete opposite.
Wow.
He came from a small little village in Eastern Europe. She came from a bigger city. She was multinational. She liked classical music, and he was like,
interesting.
You know, a little very different, but they united for my sake, and they're total opposites. And I remember when they came to visit me in the U.S. years later, they were in the back of the car, and I heard them say, so why didn't we have another kid? Because that was the thing I was always wondering.
Are they still together?
Well, somewhere.
Let me finish the story.
Somewhere in heaven, yes, they are. It's fine.
Sorry.
No,
I want to know what's going on. I'm sorry.
Let me finish the story.
You also know the outcome.
You know, the interesting part was I heard him say, why didn't we have another kid? And the reason for it, and to us, I understand what they were talking about because it's old world. They didn't want to have a kid that was their natural son, daughter, who would be superior to me because I was not a byproduct of the two of them. They didn't even put me into that situation where, you know, my brother would, you know, my brother or sister would be their kid and I was half a kid. Strange. I kind of feel sorry for it because I grew up spoiled and only child. It was great till I was 18, and then after that it's downhill.
You look very spoiled.
So, but the point was, when I came to the U.S., I went right to purchase to a college campus, and everybody I met said, oh, my shrink said this, my shrink said that. And I said, what is that? I didn't even know what shrink was. And almost everybody around me came from a divorced family. And I look back at my childhood, and I had nothing but spoiled happiness. It comes with its own price, but it was great. And so what I wanted to give my kids was the same exact thing. I wanted them to have nothing but happiness. That's a personal devotion you get from your parents. But when it gets to relationship, I can't really imprint on my parents because they just, their reason of staying together was for me, clearly. They were complete opposite. But I got the best out of each one of them as I was growing older, and I could actually figure it out at the age of 30, and I said, wow.
Well, it's divine. It was supposed to
That
happen
really
that
is,
way.
right.
It was
Because,
divine.
You know,
like
things move really
they,
fast.
You know, they were meant to meet each other to deposit that love to you. Like that's why they connected. You know what I mean? And sometimes in life, things happen that we can't explain. You know, where it's like, well, why did this happen? Or why did we lose this person? Or why did this, you know, why? But it's really about, this is, if it, you know, things happen for a reason.
Take it and roll with it, I believe.
So,
everything
you don't have to
happens for a
define it.
reason.
We don't have to define
We don't have to know why.
I think the challenge that we face, not us, but our kids,
Right.
is that the over-commercialization of relationships.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They make it sound too easy, you know, Match.com or eHarmony, just do your thing.
Well, they do make it easy. We're not going through the proper steps. You know, people don't even communicate anymore. Everybody's linked in electronically.
Sad.
We have all these things that are separating us. And Chell and I talked about this because when we first combined forces, and we hang out all the time. And I remember we used to go to hibachis all the time. We would watch people. And you're sitting down, and you have a table with 11 new strangers. And half of them, or 90% of them, would be linked into electronic devices.
On their phones.
Right. I've seen people on dates sit down and both of them on the phone.
It's sad. At
No,
dinner.
right.
At dinner. You're having dinner, and you see couples, married couples.
We never had that when I was growing
Everybody's-
up. I sat with my family.
I know.
We didn't have any of that
It's
stuff.
ridiculous. It really
so,
is insane.
So how, I mean, this is a nutrition show, right?
No, it's
No, we do
anything.
both,
We're
but-
doing everything.
I open up the book, and it's lid the cookie jar. I want to know.
Yeah,
I
I bet.
about that one.
Wait a
That's so
minute.
funny
Oh,
that you just
Very.
That's so funny.
It's perfect.
So wait a minute, what cookie jar are you talking about? You're
Yes,
literally
for
talking
you.
about cookie jar. You're talking about.
But
No,
the
because is that a
question-
Steve Harvey thing?
Well, actually, it's just a thing. I wouldn't say it's a Steve Harvey thing. You know what I mean? It's just.
So it's not a high fructose corn syrup.
You know,
It's
it's just
basically
it's
don't
just
give
a
up the thing,
reality.
yeah.
Don't give up the cookies. You
Right.
know, let
Okay,
a man.
so, go ahead.
let a man.
Oh, those kind of cookies. I need some bee pollen.
he needs some water.
I can sprinkle my girl bee pollen.
So tell us, Georgia, what do you think the right thing is? Because I have dated men who have broken up with me because I didn't give away the cookie. Right. And
It wasn't organic. That was the problem.
Yeah, probably. You know, at my age, it's kind of like they think that because I'm my age that I should be doing
desperate
that.
or, yeah,
I'm not desperate,
Right.
and I'm very old-fashioned that way. I want to be wined and dined, and you know what? There was a point in time where I did not have my worth, and so I allowed men to treat me like crap. And then I kept attracting the same kind of crap until one day I sat there and I examined myself and did some work on myself and realized that it was, if I loved myself, I wouldn't allow them to treat me that way. So then you get to the point where, okay, now you got to wine me, you got to dine me, you got to treat me like a
standard,
lady.
exactly.
You know, and so there was one gentleman I did that with, and I did not give the cookie for probably a month and a half. And then I gave in because I figured, okay, it's a month and a half. The relationship's going really well. We're in a relationship, you know, and so we're seeing each other every night. He can't wait to see me. We talk all the time, give him the cookie, and then all of a sudden, he gets weird.
Because he conquered.
Right, he conquered. Because men are like predators. They like to hunt.
But men,
they like to chase.
Men
are predators.
Men are predators.
So how long are you supposed
because
to
Because
wait?
a month is not enough
It's not enough time.
It's a month and a half.
That's still not.
It's not enough time for him
Apparently
to really
not.
get to. I always say men cannot connect with a woman emotionally and sexually at the same time.
Absolutely not. I agree with you completely. Completely. Because you know what happens? Time is going to wear off all the bullshit.
Yep.
Because, see, they can only fake the funk for so long.
Absolutely.
Because they're distracted in so many places, they're not going to put the time in that it takes for a real relationship.
Absolutely.
And you know what? And I think women use the word wine and dine. I think it's used out of context.
Right.
The word is you should be respected. It's not about the gifts that the guy should, because what that is, all that is the cloaking device.
That's kind of what I mean.
Right.
I don't mean
that's
wine
what
and
she
dine.
means.
I
Like,
mean,
right.
I'm
Just
talking about take the time to get to know me.
Exactly.
But you need
like
to say
me,
that.
Well, yeah.
You need to say that because young people that are listening to that think it's all about what people give them.
Okay, no. I'm sorry. It's not about what
But am I right or wrong? We say wine
I
and
can
dine.
buy my own stuff. I don't need anybody to do that. I want to be respected. I want to be treated with respect. I want you to pick up the phone and call me. I want you to get into my world. I want you to know who I am. And I want you to like who I am and support me in that before I give it away. So what are you saying is the...
Well, you know, that's the thing. I don't give a time frame on it. I don't say, like, 90 days.
1 year,
or,
5 years.
Yeah, I don't give a time frame
I would
on
say
it.
5 years.
Know,
For my
5 years?
Yeah, for my daughter, 5 years.
Oh, okay. But from my personal experience...
Single forever.
I'm engaged now. And
congratulations.
I've known a guy for 14 years. We were friends. I never...
I'm not waiting 14 years.
I'm
sorry.
I'm not saying to wait 14 years. I'm saying we were friends. We were friends. And then we met up one night. Our kids went off to college. We had this dinner. We connected. And then he asked me out to dinner. But I never looked at him in that light. So it was like, okay, then we started hanging out together. Then I realized, wow, he had to pursue me for no lie, like 3 years before I would give in. Because I kept saying, but I think it was such a challenge for him to conquer me. It was like, I know I can get this woman where I want her. I'm going to keep her.
You think men think like that for real?
I think they do. I think they like to conquer.
The man, he is really special if he waited 3 years.
I know, and that's why I'm marrying him. But I think it's also about enjoying each other's company, because we got to enjoy each other's company. We like the same things. We like to see live music. We like to go out to dinner. We like to travel. We got to enjoy each other. And I think when you can connect with a man emotionally, you will never have to worry about him chasing you, because you have entered a place that a lot of people can't get to. And when you get to that place and he feels like, oh, she's my friend, or I could trust her, I could open up to her, she can support my goals and my dreams. Now it's like, this woman is different. And then he's going to want to give, and he's going to want to do more to get you where he wants.
It's like getting pregnant. You know the couples that couldn't get pregnant for years, right? And then they go out and adopt a kid, and 6 months later they're pregnant.
That's
I
true.
think it's the same thing. You know, when you're out looking for it so badly, you can't.
You
You're not
can't
gonna
see
find
the forest for the
You're not going to
trees.
find it. But the minute you say, "Oh, I'm giving up," or you're relaxed about it, things happen.
That's so
Right.
true.
And so,
That is so
at the place
Because you're comfortable in your own skin. You don't feel like you need this person to complete you. Like she said before, it's like you have to get to a place personally where you're like, I feel good. I can go out. I don't care what, society puts pressure on us. You have to have kids by a certain age. You have to get married by a certain age. You have to go to college by a certain age. It's all these pressures. So when you get comfortable in your own skin and you say, you know what, I want to be with somebody when I feel ready. You have to open yourself up and say, I'm ready for this relationship. Because a lot of people say, I want to be with a man, but it's for the wrong reasons.
Right. And another thing that I find is that so many relationships, there's always codependency. And that's the first product of demise when you have codependence in the relationship.
Need a man? No. Want a man? Don't need a man.
Well, I feel like a man bash.
Sorry, Lloyd.
You know,
But you know what? That's you. But honestly, that is a statement that this other guy, the guy that broke up with me on text, said to me.
Oh, let me sip some more juice.
Classy.
Very classy. I mean, at
By
a certain
text?
age, you go
Oh my
by text.
gosh.
By text, but that's okay.
That must have been a smartphone. Just kidding.
Come here, let me smack you. You just lost my whole train of thought.
I know.
His comment was, want a man, don't need a man. And you know what? That's very true. You know, I want a man, but I don't need a man to complete me. That whole thing with that, what was that? What movie was that? You complete me, which...
Austin Powers.
No, it wasn't Austin Powers.
Jackalicious.
It wasn't. It was...
not that into you? Just not into
No, that
oh,
was
not
the
that
Tom
one.
Cruise movie where he was with the football player.
Oh, Show Me the Money.
Show Me the Money.
Show Me the Money.
Yeah.
Was it the one with I Had You
Cuba
at
Gooding
Hello?
Jr.?
Okay,
Yes,
I
I had
remember
you at
that.
hello, and you complete
He was
me.
like a sports agent, right?
Yes.
Okay, I
Right.
remember
And
that.
so everybody thinks that the other
You
person is
complete me.
supposed
Wow.
to complete
And
you.
that's not true.
And that is so not true. Because that's needing a man. But if
Right.
you want a man, you need to fulfill everything that you want in a man. You have to get in yourself.
Exactly.
You need to be a separate. You need to be your own
You have
separate
to be your
entity and
own
be self-sustaining. Otherwise,
Exactly.
you'll never ever have a successful relationship.
No, you won't.
Right.
You have to love yourself enough
have
and
to.
give yourself everything that you want, and you'll find that
And you'll
man
attract it.
You
It's
will
all about
attract
attraction.
absolutely.
You know, whatever energy you put out. And when men see women that are happy, they're more approachable to a man. Because a man doesn't want to approach a woman that looks like she's angry all the time. Angry at the world, angry at everything
That's
around
interesting
her.
because a lot of men look angry all the time.
Well, that's why I'm
because the
not
women didn't
attracted
give
to a
up.
lot of them.
Well,
I'm
because
The
sorry.
woman didn't
But
give it up. That's
you know
why
what's
they're angry.
interesting?
because they're
not.
living the cookie jar.
You remember
Yeah.
Too many women are giving away the cookie for
Remember
nothing.
That's right.
Come on, remember the show where the men were saying
Cookie
my
show,
biological-
non-cookie show. I think,
My biological clock is ticking. That's
Yes.
a man thing too. You know?
That's
Yes.
there's so many variables. But at the end of the day, I believe we get back to grassroots. Most of us, or all of us, need to work on ourselves.
Yes.
And that work is never done. We see someone that we are physically attractive to. We can be attracted to everybody, but at the end of the day, once you cross that line before you solidify that relationship, it is done. Because once you start, because after a while, all she sees is your cookie, and all you see is her cookie, and that's what it's all about. The conversation goes there, and anything about working on that relationship, you're not going to put the time in to do it.
So let's talk about Roseanne again. So so she's a classic example, right? So you have someone who is intelligent, very attractive, and very intimidating to a lot of people, right?
I get that all the time too.
Right?
It's okay. But it's
Because-
okay.
You see me as intimidating.
That's
No,
not the
I
right
don't.
man.
I don't but you could see where
But
someone
both of
who
you,
is
most men would be intimidated by how you look, your presence, you're strong, assertive.
It's the assertiveness, it's the confidence that we both have that is intimidating.
That's why my bee pollen is shaking.
I'm sorry.
That's why I think the perfect person for her would be just the opposite, because it's not about completion, but the guy that's come in and he's driving the Ferrari and he's got everything he wants and he just sees Roseanne. That's a conquering thing.
Yeah,
right?
those are the men that I go,
But
see ya, bye-bye.
Right.
the ones that are maybe a little bit more shy, comfortable with who they are, and not intimidated, but it's also not a contest.
Well, I think the man has to know who, if he's comfortable in his own skin, he's going to respect her, whether he has money or not.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I don't really think it has anything to do with a type, because I always tell people, if you want to attract the right man, you want the man that you need, not the one you want. When I say need, in a way where this person can help you grow, this person's going to add to you. They're going to complement you. You're going to work together as a team. And when you look at it that way, it's not about a type. There's never a type.
No.
You know
I
what I mean?
agree with
it's
you.
Not a type.
And people always say that. I like this, I like this. You don't know what
you
like.
You don't.
Right. You want to
really
find
don't
something
know what you
that's
want.
going to fit with you, that works with you. Not so much about how, it's not how they look. We look at all the, I think
wrong
we look at all the wrong things.
Absolutely.
Like a woman will say, well, I want him to be 6 feet. I want him to be 222 pounds. You're setting yourself up for demise. Same thing with men. Men, I like this, I like that kind of butt, those kind of boobs, blah, blah, blah. That's what I want. And that's all you look at. You limit your view.
That's true. And
right.
And I can share a story real quick about that, because I go to the gym, and there's this personal trainer in the gym, and he looks so hot. And we would give each other eye contact, watch each other. It happened maybe for about a couple of months, and then he said, you want a personal trainer? We met. We talked. He gave me his number. We talked over the phone, and we had good conversation. He seemed, he knew what he wanted to do in life, and I said, okay. So we went out to dinner a few times, and good conversation. And one night he drops me off, and I'm thinking, yeah, this guy, like the type thing.
Perfect,
Tall,
right?
good looking, athletic, confident, So he drops me off, and, I'm thinking, okay. And before he kisses me goodnight, he asks me for money for gas. So I said, this is not the type of man that I want. But like you said, you cannot go by the external, because like you said, not just wine and dine, but you want a man that's going to have some respect for you and not think that you're going to be his sugar mama.
Did he text you or he actually asked you?
No, he actually asked me. But then he said it like, oh, I'm just joking around. I just wanted to test you. No, you did not want to test me.
No, that's not a test question. You don't mess up like that. Sorry, dude. If you're watching, you're done. 72 countries, you're done. What's his name? No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
But like you said, you can't get caught up with the external things on what you see in a person, because just like you said, the men with money, they have a certain way about them. They're so used to getting any woman they want. Will they give you that same?
They don't have to work.
Right. They don't have to put the time in. Not saying all of them are like that, because some men, it just depends on the timing when you meet.
It depends on the timing. It depends on the actual person.
Absolutely.
So it definitely does.
Wow, this is feeling really hot, and I can't wait to get back to this.
We have wine.
Yeah, we have a wine.
Candles.
Candles, whatever.
We got the fireplace going on.
I'll tell you, girl, you coming in, you throw a rock in the water, we're rolling down.
Thank you very much. I've had enough of food.
I'm taking credit for the cookie jar.
So, cookies, relationships, bad food, happy people. We come back, we're going in deeper.
Yes, we
Talk to
are.
you in a few minutes.
Absolutely.
Welcome to Formula Auto Wash, where every day is a great day for a car wash. Open 7 days a week from 8 a.m. till 5:30 p.m. Sundays 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. Detailing packages for every budget, starting out at $29.99. 100% hand wash and detail centre. Hot air and microfiber brushes and mitts. Proudly using Ecolab Blue Coral soaps and waxes. Formula Auto Wash has served the community for over 30 years. Senior discounts all day, every day. Ladies' Day Wednesday, $3 off any wash. Early bird discount Monday through Thursday till 9:30 a.m. Check out our website, formulaautowash.com.
For professional motorcycle transport and towing, think Kickstart Fabrications Motorcycle Towing. Proudly serving all of Long Island, we feature expert handling and 24/7 service. So send a limo for your toy with Kickstart Fabrications Motorcycle Towing.
Brooklyn's best locksmith and hardware.
We have 3 of the largest showrooms of safes on display and in stock. You can see and touch them in person instead of browsing a catalog. We carry gun and rifle safes, burglary safes, jewelry safes, fire rated from a half hour to 2 hour. Famous name brands.
We sell Gardol.
We sell AMSAC.
The new AMSAC touchscreen.
If you're ever in need of a safe, think Brooklyn's best locksmith and hardware. Right, Lockie?
That's right, Alan.
I am Tom Mealy for the Harrison Law Group, and I have been telling you for years that getting involved in an automobile accident is no joke. This is what we do. We're not new at this game. If you've been involved in an accident of any kind and you go to a law firm that says you have no case, it's simple. It's because they can't do it and they don't get it. You need to call us directly at 1-800-INJURY-LAW.
Want to include entertainment, but you're not sure where to turn? Act1Entertainment.net has provided over 1,500 events with quality, affordable live entertainment at private parties, corporate affairs, festivals, bike rallies, and more. Act 1 will fit into your budget. They're friendly, reliable, and do all the legwork for you. They take all major credit cards. Log on to Act1Entertainment.net for a free, no-obligation price quote or call 631-758-3505 for a brochure. You'll be happy you did.
Welcome to Formula Auto Wash, where every day is a great day for a car wash. Open 7 days a week from 8 a.m. till 5:30 p.m. Sundays 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. Detailing packages for every budget, starting out at $29.99. 100% hand wash and detail center. Hog's-hair and microfiber brushes and mitts. Proudly using Ecolab Blue Coral soaps and waxes. Formula Auto Wash has served the community for over 30 years. Senior discounts all day, every day. Ladies' Day Wednesday, $3 off any wash. Early bird discount Monday through Thursday till 9:30 a.m. Check out our website, formulaautowash.com.
Brooklyn's best locksmith and hardware.
We have 3 of the largest showrooms of safes on display and in stock. You can see and touch them in person instead of browsing a catalog. We carry gun and rifle safes, burglary safes, jewelry safes, fire rated from a half hour to 2 hour. Famous name brands.
We sell Gardol.
We sell AMSAC.
The new AMSAC touchscreen.
If you're ever in need of a safe, think Brooklyn's best locksmith and hardware. Right, Lockie?
That's right, Alan.
Welcome back.
ESP.
Welcome back to bodyshop TV. I'm your host, Body Mechanic NYC, and we have our wonderful guests, and we are talking about relationships from the right, from the left, from the top, from the bottom, from cookies to codependency, you name it. And
Game elimination.
oh, Roseanne, what are you doing, Roseanne?
Mind games and relationships. I don't play games. I hate games. I hate men who play games. Why? They talk about women playing games?
God, men never play games, Roseanne. Never.
What are the
How to attract the right man in your life.
No more settling. That's important.
Tell us about the red flags.
Oh, yeah. Recognizing the red flags in relationship. Ladies out there, there are always red flags for men and women. I think people just refuse to see them. You know, when you have a conversation with someone on the phone, you can feel them out and kind of tell where that person's coming from. When you sit down and go to dinner with this person, you can pick up certain things and see that something's not right. I mean, I'll use my own myself as an example.
As a flag?
I went
Okay.
no, not as a flag, but recognizing the red
all right,
flag.
okay.
I went on a date with this guy, and you know, we went to the city, and you know, like they have the restaurants where you eat outside, and I thought that was going to be nice and fun and romantic. So I picked this restaurant. We go out. As we're getting out the car, I'm noticing like he doesn't want people walking behind him. He keeps turning around. I mean, in the city, New York City, he has OCD. So I'm
paranoid also.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's like, you know, like telling me to wait. And then I'm like, okay. And then he's like, okay, we can go now. And then somebody's walking behind us, and then he's like, okay, let's wait. And I'm saying, okay, I don't know about this guy. I don't think we're going to have a second date. But, I mean, you see these things in people.
Okay, Veronica, let me ask you a question, okay?
I want to.
No.
This is not even fair. No. It should be like how to attract everything instead of just, I mean, it's obviously a great
Okay,
book.
so would you have considered this a red flag? So this guy who I dated for a month and a half, okay, when I dated him, then he went to California. I gave the cookie away before he went to California.
You are so funny.
Then when he came back, I was in Philadelphia.
Okay.
So he came back and took a train to spend time with me in Philadelphia. Unfortunately, something happened with his father, so he had to leave like 2 days into the trip, and he went home. He felt really bad, and then I didn't hear from him for a couple of days. So I texted him and said, you know, what's up? You know, here we were going hot and heavy.
Everything was great.
Everything was great. And then he calls me and says, well, you know, my dad's sick, and you know, I'm the only one, and, you know, my mom passed away, my sister passed away, my dad's 87, you know, and I'm the sole person, and I'm traveling. I really just can't put the time and effort into calling you and this relationship. And I said, but why? And he goes, well, because the last time this happened with my dad, and my dad got sick, it didn't work with the other lady. I said, but now you're comparing her to me.
Right.
So how would you know that? And he goes, well, do you want to try? And I said, absolutely. Should that have been a red flag for me to say, you know what, get your shit together, and you know what, if you're okay, then call me back?
Yes,
Should
that's
that
a red
have
flag. Absolutely.
Okay.
Because he's telling
Sounds
you
like a
already.
cookie flag to me.
Yeah, no, but he's telling you initially, just like when men tell women they go out with them and they say, you know what, I'm not really looking for anything serious. He's telling you up front. So whether you give him the cookie, that's not going to change his mind.
Yeah, because he's going to go,
already,
hey, I already told you.
You know, he's
Hey,
telling
baby,
you.
I told you.
He's telling you, I'm not looking for anything
All
serious.
right.
When a man says that, that's
What-
a red flag.
Well, I want to interject and to say something.
Okay, Lloyd.
This is why I always say the 5-year rule is in effect.
5 years.
Believe it or not, even if a man says that, time and learning about people takes and changes the whole game. But you have to understand, you have to hold your deck. Tell me that's
right.
your cookies.
That's
I'm telling
right.
You, if you find a person, you find they have 80 or 90% of the traits that you like, you take time to build a relationship. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
The cookies got to be off the table.
That's right.
I'm
That's
telling you,
true.
it goes both ways. You can't find out about a person once you combine chemistry. You're
Right.
done.
Because you're blinded now. Your
Right.
emotions is too
'Cause they're-
wrapped up
right.
into it.
Not only that-
So now you're not even seeing the red flags because
getting me all
now
excited.
your heart is involved now. That's why, you know, I tell people, when you become intimate with somebody, you're sharing body chemistry now. They're taking something from
And
you.
there's
you're
frequency
taking
links also. There's a
Absolutely.
frequency link when you touch people.
You're taking something from them, they're taking something from you. So you're even pulling their negative energy, whether you believe it or not.
So
Completely.
let's analyze this. Let's go back to where it starts, right? Because we're all imprint on what happens to us in the past.
Right.
And so you have kids in college. So
I have a
did
son.
I have a couple of kids.
Okay, you too. So we watch them, their journey, when they start dating in high school at some point, right?
Right.
Sorry, that
And-
slipped.
I'm going to have to
5-year
talk
rule. See, that doesn't happen to 25.
Okay. Well, but see, but that's the issue. It starts there because it's not dating for a mate. It's part of life, right? They're dating, but they have to give up the stuff pretty quickly, otherwise they get dumped and.
Who says they have to?
Hold on a second.
No, I'm not saying.
Oh.
They have to. No. I meant this is from a cultural
generation
standpoint,
you're talking
from
about. Okay.
expectations. You know.
Yeah,
The expectations.
It's really
if
scary
they
out there
don't,
now.
then off they go to the next one,
Right.
and eventually they'll score. So when it's our own kids, it's pretty scary, right? Especially if you have.
And look, it happened to me when I was in high school. So, and it happened to me at this age.
Right.
So things haven't really changed.
I want to throw something out there because, like, once again, there's the elephant in the room, right? Because I always resort back to food because I just want to keep us all grounded and understand how it plays a role in even mating. Now, when you were young, believe it or not, the average woman who actually started having her period, it started around 15, 16 years of age.
I was 12.
Because of, right, that's actually quite early. So what happens is, based on food additives, and what really brings that on is sodium fluoride. I don't know whether you're aware of this. It's in your toothpaste. What it does, it actually brings on puberty in women as young as 8 and 9 years of age.
Wow.
So where a woman would not even be thinking about procreating, right, until 15 or 16 years of age, right? Now that stuff is starting at 10 and 11. So you got to understand what we're up against. And I'll be honest, I always say this. A 14-year-old, a 13-year-old, 11-year-old are not responsible to be dating. And we told it as being cute when, you know, there's an attraction with our young children.
No, it's not.
But that's
I don't
a
think
serious,
so.
serious problem.
No, I don't
It really
think so.
is.
Look, it's not just the emotional, mental readiness, the imprint of what they see on TV.
Right.
And so I always,
so
you know,
bad.
as
The
my,
idiot box.
Reality
as my kids are
shows.
growing up, and I always used to say, if women dressed up the way they dress up today, I will still be in jail today.
Right.
They will never release me because it's a teasing society.
Right.
You
The
know,
way
I
they
mean,
dress, the
we're
way they
pretty
carry
strict.
themselves.
You know,
our daughter was going out and said, "Where are you going?" I'm going out. No, you're not.
Right.
Go back and change your dress. But that's part of the culture.
Yeah.
So when you think about this poor kid who is 15, 16, 17, and his testosterone is out of control,
Right.
and he goes to a party with these gorgeous girls, he's not responsible for his actions.
Well, you're right, but that's marketing. That's what they're taught. I don't think that we naturally did that. I think that we evolved to the way because that's what the media put out there.
Right.
Like people walking around naked. It's completely retarded. I mean, there is something about, Chella works with a line of clothing. It's called Dangerous Curves. And something that I really liked about it, and I've always said this, I like when things are flowing and leave something to the imagination.
Exactly.
Because we're just primitively hardwired for, I mean, boobs. I mean, we see them, we're just like, it's just part of our hard wiring. It's just like, I mean, you see, I'm speaking from
That's
my
sexy,
heart.
classy.
I
but
understand.
yeah,
That's
you're
not
talking about
the point.
right.
Uh-oh, we have a call.
It's the president.
That's the boot.
It's my
I said
kids
the boot.
calling me. It's the kids calling
I
me.
think
Ma.
So, come on, be
What are you
honest.
talking about,
I think
Ma?
it's the guy from Philly.
Guy from Philly.
Think about what we wear.
No, he wouldn't watch what I'm watching.
It's like we might as well just wear saran wrap and walk outside.
Right.
So, I mean, we ultimately have to respect ourselves. So, and then we'll say, you know, it's so funny. You'll see a woman come out.
We have a
and
call.
We do?
Yes, we do.
I'm sorry, I'm thinking about cookies and boobs. And, okay, here.
Red flags.
Red
We have a
flags. And the fireplace is rolling. Man, everything's popping here at Bodyshop TV. Welcome to Bodyshop TV. Caller, how are you?
I'm on top of the world. I hear you're having a great time in the studio.
Yeah, Miss Provocative, sexy voice. What's up?
I just want to address the cookie syndrome.
Oh!
Cookies or the quickies?
Wait a minute. Hold on. Is this Chella?
This is Chella. So, I teach young people about HIV prevention. I always talk about books and boys don't mix, keep your legs closed. And when you lie down with someone, you have to be responsible enough to accept the consequences. And what happens when you wake up the next morning, there are feelings involved. You may have an embryo inside growing. You just never know what the consequences are. But we all need to be, no matter how old we are or how young we are, responsible for that consequence when we rise from the dead. So it doesn't really matter the time frame, Roseanne, if it's a month and a half or if it's 5 years, body mechanic. It's all about responsibility and being mature enough to accept the consequences and responsibilities.
So, Chella, how many people, how many teenagers are actually responsible?
Not very many, but I just said that, I just shared that as a marker as to what I share with these young people. But I say the same thing when I'm speaking to adults in audiences. It's all about responsibility.
Absolutely.
Chella, I noticed that you got the very sexy voice on today. It's
That's
like,
'cause
almost like you have warm air around you and nice atmosphere. I'm like, could you give us a feeling of like what portion? Where are you in the globe?
Actually, I'm on the western coast of the United States, and the weather is quite beautiful. The sun is shining. I'm actually lying horizontally.
Oh, thanks for putting that in there, Cookie Monster.
Ow!
Chella, you're
I'm
so funny.
Quite comfortable and quite at peace right now.
Chella, we miss you.
I miss you guys too, and all the guests in the house. Big up and thank you for being there. I'm sure Body Mechanic is holding it down, and continue to enjoy the show. I just want to give my little 2 cents about the cookies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are those chocolate chip or were they wafer thin mints?
Vienna mocha chunk.
Ah! You are so funny.
And don't you forget it, Body Mechanic. Have a wonderful afternoon.
All right, Chella. Thanks for calling, Chella.
Bye-bye, hon.
Oh, my God, she is too freaking funny. No, I mean, you know, I have a young daughter. She's 11 years old, and her mother's into like wearing tight clothes and stuff, and I've never been attracted to stuff like that because I always thought that when you have a lot to offer, you don't have to show everything that you have. I feel that there should be some mystery about these things. I mean, I think men would act very differently if they could not. If they didn't have to focus on that, they would spend more time focusing on other things that are important. Because at the end of the day, that will come about, that will happen. But the opportunity to get inside a woman's head and understand what she's about and what makes her tick is absolutely.
But I think men can see through a woman's clothes, even if they're wearing something.
Yeah,
I think
so what do you?
At them from a physical standpoint.
Right, but what I'm trying to say to you is this: like, you have women that will wear, like for instance. You have women who wear low-cut blouses that have their boobs exposed. I'm telling you, you think I'm kidding. I got to understand how a man thinks, right? You're right. They can see the way clothes silhouette on the body, but there's still a mystery.
Right.
When your stuff is out, there is no mystery.
Right. I hear
and
you.
believe me, the focus is you could be talking wow, because to them, they hear this.
They don't hear you.
Wah, wah,
they just see like, they just
wah,
see.
and you're like, wah, 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 cookie time's coming soon. Yeah, I agree. Your mom's a very nice cookie time. It's coming soon. Wah, 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 wah.
Like
wah,
Charlie
wah.
Brown.
It's the truth. This is how the boys talk. Trust me. They got a marker. They go, okay, 1, 2, 3.
You know what? Then it's our responsibility to say no.
Right.
Right.
So what are you telling me? I'm not going to wear a large if I'm a small.
No,
just because.
But that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying
that's
is
what it sounds
this.
like you're saying.
But this is what's going to happen. Because in the journey of life, as you walk through and you're on display, when you're on display, you're going to always have to contend with that.
Well, I think he's talking from a perspective where it's like way too much. Like even, and I don't want to bring this up, but even when Beyonce was performing on the Grammys, like they were like, that was like a sex show. Like what she had on.
Look, I have to tell you.
But I mean, I know that's a part of her act.
She is an incredibly beautiful.
Talented. She's beautiful and talented.
And I found it offensive.
Right.
And the reason I found it offensive is because that's not the time or place to do that.
Right.
It was at a time of day where kids are watching the show.
Right.
And you can actually blame a lot of celebrities for what's wrong in this culture.
Yeah.
Because the kids imprint on them. I mean, I was in the medical industry for 20 years, and there was one year where we were making needles. our needle production went to 1 million units because body piercing became a huge fad. We're in the medical industry, and I think, I don't know who was it Rosanna Barr that started? One of the celebrities started this thing. Not that they weren't doing it before, but all of a sudden everybody gets body pierced.
Right.
I wouldn't let my daughter get her ears pierced because I said, if the holes were in there when you were born, we're not putting them there.
I agree with you 4,000%.
But, you know, that, I lost that battle. But when you talk about body piercing, it's insane. I mean, we did it for a year and then we got out of it because I started to meet some of the people that do that. And I came back and told my boss, look, we're out of this business. It's way too freaky of what people do with those needles. I mean, we don't want to be liable. And so it's the celebrity world
much, though, at
that you
times.
look at them and say, why would you want to be like them? So
Because a young girl is watching saying, this is what's going to make people like me.
What's her name? The other one that was
Miley
naked.
Cyrus.
Miley Cyrus.
Oh my, I
Now,
can't look
you
at
know
her
what?
anymore.
I know.
What she did was also offensive,
Yeah.
but it was totally commercially
It
driven.
was calculated.
It was
All of them were
commercially
calculated.
driven. She wanted, and she,
Attention.
if
It
you
was
watch,
attention.
there was an interview, she said, I wanted everybody in the world to talk about me. Did she accomplish it? Yes, she did.
And you know what? And she's benefiting from it because there's no such thing as bad press. If they got on there and they were naked, it wouldn't make a difference. Understand the engine in the world that we live in. Our eyes are what blind us, and if you look at the TV, you will be lost. And that's really what the bottom line is. You know, I'll tell you something. I've had an issue with women being exploited for a very long time. And you know, the boys, when they get together, this is what they talk about. And when they have a woman on their arm, they want someone who looks good, and it's just all perpetuates the whole thing. But at the end of the day, we want that woman to look good, but we want her also to be nurturing to our children, show them the way. You know, it's just all mixed up the wrong way.
Yeah.
It really is. We have to learn to respect
ourselves. You know,
So,
it's
you know,
true.
I think we also, to some extent, we give ourselves way too much credit because we are monkeys. We are still animals, and there's some behavior that's driven that.
So we should all take our clothes off?
Excuse me?
I'm sorry.
Can I have that book, please?
Listen, I read somewhere that you don't give up the cookies so quickly, and we've only been here an hour and a half. So I'm sorry.
Cookies and cream cheese.
You ain't giving up the cookies.
You know what? Check this out. I want you to tell everyone how to get a hold of the book,
Yeah.
how to
Okay.
get the book, and
They can go to my website, www.georgiawoodbine.net. They could also get the book from Barnes & Nobles. It's going to be available there. And they can Google me anywhere and get information about the book. Again, www.georgiawoodbine.net. And like I said, you know, if you're ready to attract that right man, it's not about seeking, it's not about searching, it's not about you trying to go after somebody, but it's about letting that right man come to you.
Don't settle.
No more settling.
Don't settle.
But couldn't a man use that book also?
Yes, men and women.
You just have to put tape over it if you're a straight man. You got to put tape over it.
I
you're looking
interviewed
for.
men and I interviewed women, and I shared some personal stories about what they were looking for, what the men are looking for, and what the women are looking for. So both men and women can benefit from reading that book. Absolutely.
And you know what? Maybe the sad part of this whole thing is you have to go through a whole bunch of mistakes and bad relationships and marriages to get to a point where you really know what you want, and you're not going to compromise. You're not going to do this when you're young. So so I think as life has it, just like in the wild, well, you see those little animal shows where one of these male things goes after a female thing, and her male comes in and attacks him. That's what we are. So we're kind of weaving in and out of experiences, but if you're smart enough to sit back one day and say, okay, why didn't that work? What can I learn from it?
Well, yeah, what are all the
And
things
it's
I
okay.
don't want in a relationship?
Well, you know what? It sounds like
So
we need
true.
another show because we're coming to a close now, and
Wow,
I just
that
want to
was
thank my
too
guest,
quick.
Georgia.
Thank you for having me.
I'm wearing my chef hat next time.
Yes.
And we're going to bake some cookies.
I gotta hide my head. You know, I got one flake
hot
up top.
chocolate.
Roseanne, awesome, fire, magnificent.
Yes.
Folks, here at bodyshop TV, anything is possible. And if I could say anything, keep your cookies in the package until you're ready to really munch on them.
Be responsible.
Be responsible.
cookies,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Organic.
And
Watch the chips and the red flags.
bodyshop TV, live long, do everything like it's the last time you're going to do it, and be present. We'll see you next week on bodyshop TV. Ciao, ciao.
Now that the mic is off.